What if everything you experience as real is only real because your brain believes it is? Your fear, your joy, your pain, none of these are proof of reality. They are proof of perception. Now imagine a technology that can control perception perfectly. At that moment, reality stops being physical and becomes programmable. This is not science fiction. This is virtual reality. And the real question is no longer what VR is, but what happens when VR becomes better than reality itself. How humans actually experience reality. Humans do not experience reality directly. We experience interpretations. Your eyes do not see objects. They detect light. Your ears do not hear meaning. They detect vibration. Everything you call reality is constructed inside the brain. This means something deeply unsettling. If the brain receives the same signals, the experience feels equally real, whether the source is physical or artificial. Virtual reality does not invent new sensations, it replicates existing ones. That is why fear inside VR feels real. That is why your heart races. That is why your body reacts, even when your mind knows it is not real. Why the brain cannot tell the difference. The brain evolved to trust sensory input. It was never designed to question whether the source of experience was artificial. When visual input, sound, and motion align perfectly, the brain accepts the experience as real by default. This is why people feel vertigo on virtual cliffs. This is why simulated danger triggers real panic. This is why emotional attachment forms to digital environments and avatars. Reality, for the brain, is not about truth. It is about consistency. Why virtual reality is advancing so fast. Early VR felt artificial, low resolution, lag, limited interaction. Today, VR systems track eye movement, head motion, hand gestures, and body position in real time. Latency is decreasing. Visual fidelity is increasing. Sensory feedback is improving. The closer VR comes to zero delay, the harder it becomes for the brain to distinguish simulation from reality. And there is a critical threshold. Once crossed, the illusion stops feeling like an illusion. Why humans may choose VR over reality. Reality is demanding. It has limits, consequences, inequality. Virtual environments remove these constraints. In VR, you choose your appearance. You choose your environment. You choose your identity. Failure has no lasting cost. Pain can be disabled. Fear can be controlled. Humans have always sought escape. Books, cinema, games. Virtual reality is not a new desire. It is the most complete form of escape ever created. When VR becomes more appealing than reality, this is where the ethical line begins to blur. If a virtual world provides more pleasure, less suffering, greater freedom, why would people choose the physical world? History suggests a disturbing pattern. Humans often choose comfort over truth. And when reality becomes optional, the meaning of real life begins to collapse. The psychological trap of virtual reality. The human brain is not optimized for moderation. It is optimized for reward. When an experience delivers instant satisfaction, the brain reinforces the behavior automatically. Virtual reality can offer immediate achievement, perfect social validation, controlled pleasure, escapism without consequences. This creates a psychological loop. The more time spent inside immersive virtual environments, the harder it becomes for the brain to tolerate the slower, messier nature of real life. Reality starts to feel boring, stressful, inadequate. Not because reality has changed, but because expectations have. This is not addiction in the traditional sense. It is preference conditioning. Identity begins to fragment. In the physical world, identity is constrained. Your body limits you. Your past defines you. Society remembers you. In virtual reality, none of this applies. You can change your face, your voice, your gender, your personality. You can abandon an identity instantly and adopt a new one without consequence. At first, this feels liberating. But over time, something unexpected happens. The question, "Who am I?" becomes harder to answer outside the virtual world. Because identity requires continuity, and VR encourages fragmentation. When identity becomes flexible, meaning becomes unstable. Social reality inside virtual worlds. Human beings are social organisms. Belonging matters more than truth. As VR communities grow, they begin to replace physical social structures. Friendships form, relationships deepen, conflicts arise, cultures emerge. But these societies operate under different rules. You can leave at any moment. You can erase yourself. You can start over. This weakens accountability. When consequences disappear, behavior changes. Empathy becomes optional. Responsibility becomes negotiable. The danger is not that virtual societies exist, but that they may begin to outcompete real ones. Economic and power shifts. Where attention goes, power follows. If humans spend significant portions of their lives inside virtual environments, those environments become economic centers. Virtual land, virtual goods, virtual status. Value becomes digital. And whoever controls the infrastructure controls the rules of reality itself. This introduces a new form of influence, not over what people think, but over what people experience. When experience is controlled, belief follows naturally. The illusion of choice. At first glance, VR seems to offer infinite freedom. But freedom inside a system is still bounded by the system. Every virtual world has rules, limitations, and design choices. These choices shape behavior subtly. When environments are optimized for engagement, they are also optimized for retention. The longer someone stays, the harder it becomes to leave, not through force, but through comfort. The critical question of consent. If someone chooses VR voluntarily, is there a problem? The issue is not consent. The issue is comparison. When reality becomes inferior by design, choice becomes distorted. At that point, opting out feels like loss. And when opting out feels like loss, freedom becomes theoretical. Consciousness and the final boundary. Consciousness does not require physical reality. It requires experience. If experience can be generated artificially with sufficient complexity and consistency, the conscious mind treats it as real. This leads to an unsettling conclusion. Reality may not be defined by what exists, but by what is experienced. And if that is true, then the line between virtual and real is philosophical, not physical. The simulation question. Once virtual reality reaches a certain level of sophistication, a deeply uncomfortable question emerges. If a simulated experience feels indistinguishable from reality, on what basis do we claim one is more real than the other? From the perspective of consciousness, experience is experience. Pain felt in a simulation activates the same neural responses. Fear triggers the same physiological reactions. Joy produces the same emotional signals. The brain does not ask where an experience comes from. It only asks how consistent it is. This raises the possibility that reality itself may simply be the most convincing simulation we have access to, not because it is artificial, but because we cannot step outside it to verify otherwise. Does real still matter? Historically, reality mattered because it imposed limits. It demanded effort. It enforced consequences. It shaped meaning through resistance. If virtual reality removes resistance, does meaning disappear with it? Meaning often arises from struggle, from limitation, from effort against constraint. When everything is possible, nothing feels necessary. This is the paradox of perfection. A perfectly tailored experience may feel empty over time, not because it lacks stimulation, but because it lacks weight. The future of human choice. The future may not be about choosing between virtual reality and physical reality. It may be about balancing them, using VR as a tool rather than a replacement, a space for exploration, learning, and creativity, not escape. But balance requires awareness, and awareness requires asking difficult questions before technology answers them for us. The final thought. One day, humans may look back and realize that the most important choice was never about technology. It was about attention. Where we place our attention determines the world we inhabit, whether physical or virtual. And perhaps the greatest danger of virtual reality is not that it will replace reality, but that we will stop asking why reality mattered in the first place.
Reality was never defined by walls, gravity, or matter. It was defined by what we experience. And if experience can be designed, then reality itself becomes a choice. Virtual reality is not the end of the real world. It is a mirror showing us how fragile our definition of real has always been. The question is no longer what is real. The question is, when given a choice, will humanity still choose it?
This is MindBurst Universe, where every story challenges reality itself. And in the next video, we'll explore a truth even more disturbing than virtual worlds. What if reality never belonged to us at all? Stay curious, stay aware, and I'll see you in the next story.